Good morning, Flosstube friends. I'm Olivia, the Southern Yankee Stitcher, and today is September 29th. I'm here to bring you what I'm calling a Flosstube Extra. It's a sampler parade. And I have most of the samplers I've stitched, and there are a few others in my collection that I have here. I did not stitch. Their antiques or just things I've purchased, and I'll let you know those. I don't think I have everything here, but I have most of what I own here. There are a couple that aren't framed, and I didn't dig those out. So anyway, let's just go ahead and just jump right in. And I pulled charts for the ones where I could easily find the charts. But if there's something that I stitched and you want information on and I didn't provide it, just put your comment down below and I can get my hands on it. So I'm starting with a piece here that I stitched almost 1 year exactly ago. And this is a little sampler that came from the Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine. I'm not sure which fall issue it came from, but it's this little sampler. Just has your alphabet, your acorns, and your little squirrels there. The squirrels that are on the chart their hair was a little more wispy than these squirrels. And I later found out that the squirrels in England look a little bit more like that than these are Americanized squirrels. So I originally was stitching this for a small exchange, and I liked it so much I wanted to keep it. Also, it just reminded me of the time that my family spent together during Hurricane Helene. So I stitched that on the back. Hurricane Helene really devastated North and South Carolina last year about this time. We don't normally get hit with hurricanes this far inland. So it was one of those, they call it 100-year storms or 500-year storms or whatever, but very rare. But my family all kind of gathered here at my house, and we had no electricity for 5 days. So we grilled and tried to eat all the food that was going to spoil because of refrigeration being gone. So the kids thought it was great, but we just made the best of a bad situation is what we did. And that's all you can do, but that's a memory of that time. So I'm just gonna try and get through these kind of fast. The next one is another chart from the Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine. This is a Chart Be Kind sampler by Teresa Miller of Teresa's Primitive Treasures, and it's from the summer 2021 issue. I did not stitch the border, but I stitched this piece on blue fabric, and I can't remember, it was an even weave. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But this is another one I stitched for the small exchange. I liked it so much, I stitched the second time. I did give away the first one. Had this pretty fabric on the back. I think this is the first time I ever made cording. And I put a little bee charm on there. A little antique button. I really love that piece. All right, the next one is, I think this is a freebie put out by Blackbird Designs. It's called Blackbird's Stitches. I think that's what it's called, Blackbird Stitches, yeah. And this is the chart. Sorry for the glare, y'all. It's the best I can do. I try and not use the light over the table here if I can, but today's kind of a cloudy day, so I needed the light. I stitched it on a tea towel. And this is a tea towel that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. It's designed to be stitched on probably more like embroidery, but I cross stitched on it. It was pretty easy because of you can kind of see the weave there. It was easier to count the stitches. Of course, my cats were quiet until I started to talk, because I was having problems with memory on my phone. So I've been sitting here fooling with my phone for a while. They were perfectly still. I start talking, and there they go. This is design M. Holloway by Ray Niles of Red Barn Samplers. And this is a little bitty sampler that I made even smaller. It was stitched on a 28 count Shrekie's Tan by Needle Bling Designs. And I did it 1/1. I just pulled my own colors. It's a very colorful chart, so I did the same thing. Made it very colorful. This is in like a, I don't know, 2x4 frame, something like that. It's very small. I changed the name on it to Elsie Blank. Elsie was a sister of my grandmother who died tragically when she was just a little girl, like 3 or 4. All right. The next one I have, I did not stitch this. I purchased this at a thrift store and doesn't have anyone's name or year or anything on it, but is a stamped cross stitch piece. It came in this frame. It was framed by a professional framer in Georgia. And I just thought it was sweet. I love the frame. I loved everything about it. So I grabbed it when I saw it. Let's see. I have a cat laying on the stuff, so I'm gonna have to change what I grab here. Another punch needle primitive stitcher chart. I'm telling y'all, if you don't have this magazine subscription already, you need to get it because there's a lot of stuff in there you can stitch. This is called Traditions from Ancestors from Twin Peaks Primitives, and it's in the fall 2019 issue. Not sure what I stitched this on, but it's just on this board right here. I changed some of the colors a little bit. Most of them I kept the same. I stitched it in 2020. I just have this on some backer board. It's laced, and you can see how I did not center it on my fabric. I have a piece of Velcro here because I Velcro this on a big wooden pumpkin is how I displayed this piece. So it's easy to store, take it off there because none of my stitching goes into, is always in a climate controlled area. I don't put it in the shed with other things. Here are a couple of samplers that are antique. I was trying to read the name on this and I can't quite get it, but these are just antiques I purchased either at an antique shop or a couple of them I got on eBay. And this is one, I'm pretty sure it's stitched on with wool. That name and everything there on the bottom shows up better on the camera than it does in person. It's funny how it does that, isn't it? I'm getting ready. I'm on break from work the next 2 weeks, and I am going to hang everything on my sampler wall. So this came at a good time to do these. This is another antique one. Of course, I did not stitch this. Sorry about the glare. I took these last two that I'm showing you, I took them out of the frames and cleaned them and put them back in the frames they were in so they don't have non-glare glass. So there we go. And these were very reasonably priced. I don't spend a lot of money on samplers. This next one is one that I stitched. This has a ship on the top and then a home and florals and trees on the bottom. Those motifs came from a book, and I can get you the name if you need that book. The verse was something that my son came up with for me. Jörg Schumacher came in 1728 on the ship the Goodwill, and he was the first ancestor on the shoemaker line of my family to come to America. And so I was working on this and I stitched the ship and I knew I wanted to put a verse below it. I tried to come up with a little poem and I just couldn't come up with anything that I liked. So I sent the facts to my kids and said, can y'all come up with a poem? Well, in 10 minutes, my son came up with a poem. He's really good at doing things like that, coming up with rhymes. So I'm gonna read this to you real quick before I show you. It says, upon goodwill, Jörg Schumacher did sail to the city of brotherly love, leaving Germany behind and not changing his mind, found America fit like a glove. Well, Jörg Schumacher came on the ship Goodwill in 1728 to the port of Philadelphia. And so that is all noted on here. I think my son did not use the last name when he came up with this poem, but I add the last name in there because I wanted to have that history. This next one is one of my favorites. Well, I think it's my favorite stitch ever. And it came from the 2003 Jeremiah Junction is who did the chart. It was in the Cross Country Stitcher magazine. I first saw this on a table in the background of a video put out by Valerie, Stitching in the Barn Valerie. And apparently other people noticed it too and commented and wanted to know where that chart came from. So here it is, and it's a welcome fractor, and I love it. I love the colors. I love the design. This may not be a sampler technically because I started pulling things and I pulled, my definition of a sampler was it had to have an alphabet on it for this video, but the last two I showed you didn't, just because they're my favorites. So I guess I just wanted to show them to you. This old cat over here is really wanting to be a pain. This next chart it is a sampler. It's one that I designed. I designed it after the Rocky Springs Schoolhouse. This is a schoolhouse that is still standing today. And both of my grandparents on my mother's side, my great-grandfather on my mother's side, and many other family members attended school in this one-room schoolhouse. And so I wanted to pay homage to that. My grandmother often had sold crafts and things with other graduates from this school, or attendees, maybe I should say, from this school. And that was a lifelong thing for her. They all wanted to make sure this schoolhouse remained intact. And it is going through a whole refurbishing project to shore up the stone and put a new roof on it and do a lot of things to make this into a museum. So this is a Rocky Springs Schoolhouse. This fabric, it was fabric I bought and I tried to over dye it with a darker green to make it look like a chalkboard. And I know back in the time that my grandmother went to school here, they used black slate boards rather than the green. But to me, old school is green slate board. So that's why I wanted it to look like that. It kind of does, doesn't it? All right. One more in this basket. This is a chart by Blackbird Designs. It's from the Blossoms as the Rose book. And I believe originally on in the book it says Bush River, South Carolina, because whichever designer it was that did this from Blackbird, they had some family ancestry in that area, which was a Quaker settlement. And so this is a Quaker sampler. It doesn't have the alphabet like you might think, but this is considered a Quaker sampler. So I put mine and my husband's information here in this cartouche, and then around it are different initials and years, and they're of all the people in My husband's family that lived in or near Greenwood. And I went back 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 4 generations. And I put all the names, who they were married to. They're all couples. And everything on the back, so my family would have that. It's Blackbird Designs. And blossoms as the rose. Sorry, I'm a little froggy, y'all. I'm getting over a cough from, I think ragweed is the culprit. This is by Lila Studios, and I have this chart, but it fell on the floor, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is her Quaker sampler, Lila Studios. I decided to stitch it on blue instead of the tan like it shows, and I love it on the blue. I love this piece. Let's see. This is one I did not stitch, but I purchased this at an antique shop, I think, or maybe eBay. I don't remember which. I just loved it. I loved the motifs in it. I loved the people, the alphabet and everything. I found this frame at Hobby Lobby and it was a little big. So, and I put this gingham behind it, or homespun. And to fill in the space, I did another little, just another little piece that said family, because this piece kind of just made me think of family. Did that finish on it. You all know that I love family history and just history in general. And so every once in a while, and I still do this every once in a while, I would go on eBay and I would plug in like the name of my hometown, or I plug in the surname of my family, or I do the hometown here in South Carolina for my husband and their surname, and maybe the two things together, trying to maybe see if there's some like family pieces out there, not necessarily stitching, but any kind of family piece out there. And I kind of hit on something. It wasn't exactly a family piece, but I wouldn't have found this otherwise. And this is a sampler that was designed by Jenny Thompson. Well, you all probably have heard people lately talk about Jenny Thompson sampler threads, or other sampler threads, what do they call them? Jenny Thompson flower threads. Jenny Thompson flower threads. Well, Jenny Thompson was she lived in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. And from what I have read, and I haven't read a lot, but read little, she was really instrumental in bringing cross stitch to the forefront in the 70s. So I just happened to find this on eBay, a Pawleys Island original. And it was a sampler. It was fully kitted. It came with some information about your sampler. It came with linen, the handwritten chart, and Jenny Thompson Originals, all your threads. Everything was in there, ready to go. So now she has on here, it says, Virginia Thompson is my name, America my nation, Carolina is my dwelling place, and Christ is my salvation. Well, my mother-in-law's maiden name was Thompson, which is how this came up, because I had Thompson and I don't know what all keywords I had in my eBay search. So when I got this and decided to stitch it, I'm like, I'm going to stitch it and put in my mother-in-law's name and information. And so that's what I did here. And my mother-in-law's name was Leela Lavinia Thompson, but she went her whole life by Lavinia. And so I did this as Lavinia Thompson. Then at the bottom, I added 2 more children beside the mother, because my mother-in-law was one of 4. They had 2 boys and 2 girls. Her father had red hair. She had blonde hair, which she's in the pink there. And then her 2 brothers and sister all had red hair. When I was pregnant, my husband's grandparents, which would be who's depicted here, they want us to have a redhead baby so bad. And I did. And they're like, I see a little red highlights. And they do have a little red highlight, but I don't have any redheaded babies. So this is stitched in memory of my mother-in-law, Leela Lavinia Thompson. All right, here's one that I got at a local antique shop, and it was created by S. Hemphill in 1974. There are Hemphills here in this town, and I thought, oh gosh, was this one of their grandmothers or somebody, and they just let it go to the thrift store? I had to grab it because I just thought, everybody's going to appreciate this. And it has a handwritten note on the back that says Mrs. I think it says Sherry Hemphill, Route 2, Mooresville, North Carolina. There's a note on the back. So I'm leaving it framed just like it is with that note on there. Yeah. All right, one last sampler I have here. Like, so this isn't my entire collection, but other than 1 or 2, I think it's everything. This is a chart. I see a thread in there I need to pull out. And I can't, oh well. This is a chart named Anathes, Theis. It was in the Sampler and Antique Needlework Quarterly magazine. I have the CD that has all of those charts on it. It's put out by a designer now. I don't know. I'm not sure which designer has put this out, but I had this professionally framed. I did the pinning myself. And I did this in memory of my mother. My mother's name is Ruth Imogene Rowe. Again, she, like my mother-in-law, went by her middle name her whole life. So, she was born in 1931. I did finish this before she passed away. So she got to see it, and I was happy about that. The cat on the original chart was gray, and I made it orange because she loved orange cats. That's the end of these. So I see it like a little, I don't know if it's like a black hair or a string that's kind of behind the linen in the corner of this, which, you know, the framer should have got that. But I don't remember seeing that before, but maybe I did and I just haven't looked at it in a while. Anyway, most of my samplers that I frame now, I try and do museum glass so they don't glare. Like this piece has museum glass in it, so you have very little glare. Or I don't know if they called it museum glass where I got this framed. He may just call it non-glare glass, but that's what I try and put in them now, especially if I have it professionally framed. If I use one of the frames I have on hand, I just use whatever glass is in there. And in several of these, I framed them without glass. I kind of like the look where you can see the stitching without glass, but I feel like they're not going to be preserved as long as if they're, you know, they're all going to be heirlooms, right? Isn't that what we all hope? So, anyway, I'm going to get my sampler wall up hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I'm very excited about that. I'm real excited about it. It's going to be in my bedroom, which is good and bad. It's The bad part about it being in my bedroom is that not everybody who comes to my house gets to see it. So I'll have to make a point of showing them my sampler wall. But the good thing is I won't have any cats trying to claw at the pieces that don't have glass or knocking them off the wall and breaking the frame like they have done in the past. So anyway, and then I get to look at it when I'm watching TV in my room. I get to look at the sampler wall, and I love that. So like I said in the beginning, if you have any questions about any of these samplers, just put a comment down below. I have been doing some stitching, and I will do a regular floss tube, hopefully in the next 2 weeks while I'm off work. So y'all enjoy the rest of your September, and I will see you next time. Bye.